very much for all of your work on that. So the big piece and the reason why we put this first on the agenda is this is kind of one of the biggest things we have coming is the deadline is actually tomorrow to let us know about what non-research activities you're planning at your campus. This is really just the kind of the formal process of working off of the conversations that I think all of you had, or I know all of you had with Laura and Nancy previously. So the plan is we're going to go through once we get everything here and make sure that everything seems to be right and align with mission and the strategic roadmap as well as budget that you have for this. Is there anything though, any questions that you all have as far as understanding what form to use or what information you should be putting forward? Okay, and Steve, I see that you joined. Welcome, and Nancy, you're on too. We're just on the first item, talking about education and professional development activities. So if there aren't any questions, or if you, as you have questions, please get them to us as soon as possible, since we're asking for those submission forms by tomorrow. And then if you don't hear anything from us, we're dealing with it differently, where if you don't hear anything, assume the proposed activities are approved. Seems a little dangerous, but we're going to try it, and hopefully it'll work. So I think we're a little bit more aligned than we were last year when we were first asking for these activity ideas. So thank you in advance for that.
So along those lines, speaking of information you need or forms and other important CSCRS resources, we've decided to add a little interactivity to this call. So I have a poll that I'm going to send out. I'm going to send it out via the chat box. I'd like to get an idea of just how much our team members are utilizing the CSCRS reporting page. We have, this is the page where we put all of the, and here comes the poll. This is the page where we have all of the documents that you need. We have dates for upcoming meetings. We have forms, recordings of webinars and things like that. So if you could click on that link in your chat box and fill out the poll, that would be very helpful to us, and we'll use that information moving forward. And that's not the only poll you'll get in this meeting, so we'll look forward to more of that. So anyway, please fill that out.
And again, a quick reminder that we are collecting this information going forward all the time. If you ever want to just give us stuff without us having to ask you for it. So the second thing on our agenda, if you can scroll down a little bit, Jennifer, is the research activities. So this is kind of, we ask people to think about what feedback they want to provide. And so year one project end dates are updated on the website and for reporting. So I know there was some back and forth. So thank you for getting back to Nancy and letting her know about what kind of extensions you needed for your current projects. If you get a chance, if you can look on the website and make sure it's right. If not, that would be just a check for us. We can make sure that we're all on the same page. And then for year two, or Nancy, let me pause. And do you have anything to add about the year one project end dates or reporting for that project or that year of projects? Okay. So next item is year two project updates. So as you all know, we sent, or I hope everyone knows, and if you'll pull up just the list, we are preparing, these are our selected projects for year two. We are working on getting all the information that we need together for the website that we have to have up. And so the deadline for our new PIs for our projects for the information sheet and individual project data management plans is the end of this month, March 30th. So if you all as associate directors could make sure that they know that. I know this is our admin call and we have some PIs, but not all PIs on the call. If you can just remind them, we'll of course be sending an email as well. And the other thing that we're doing for new PIs this year is we're hosting a kickoff call. And it's next Tuesday for new PIs, just to give us a chance. We do have some new investigators, researchers this year, so give everybody a chance to meet each other, know that they're a part of the team, share some basic information about starting a project, budget process, how to end a project, all the expectations for reporting and that kind of thing. So in that, we'll be reminding them that associate directors are the go-to, the gateway for budget questions, and we're in the middle of creating a PI handbook, which unfortunately won't be finished by this meeting next week. But we're working on information to include in that. So is there anything, I'll take a pause, is there anything in particular that you all as past PIs from this past year would want to be sure that you knew if you were a PI for the first time? Or is there anything you want us to make sure that we communicate to new PIs on your campuses?
Start and end date.
Start and end date, okay. And we're going to make sure that people understand, you know, the importance of the start and end date and what that means. Any other things you want us to cover? Okay.
I guess, hello, Asad here. I just wanted to mention that maybe, you know, having some kind of final product guidance would be good, you know, even for ourselves, like final report, how it looks or the format of it. And maybe you're still working on that, but that would be helpful.
Okay. That's a good point, Asad. Is there anything else that you all might be missing as well as PIs for year one toward the end of your project?
Yeah, just what does it look like? Like, what does the final report format, what should it look like?
Got it. Okay. If you think of anything, please feel free to let us know. We're planning it, obviously, it's next Tuesday, so if anything hits your mind soon, let us know. And otherwise, obviously, we'll be close in contact with these PIs as well. And we'll talk more about how we want to make sure we work with PIs at the executive committee meeting in April, but just want to give you a heads up. So the second piece, so Becky, are you?
All right, this is Nancy.
Oh, sorry, hey Nancy.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm hung up instead of unmuted. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I just asked if there's anything you wanted to add to the year one, how we have our updated information about end dates, or if you need anything for reporting from project one that we want to cover.
Yeah, a couple things. So almost every project now has revised end date. Thank you for getting me those. A couple things on that. One, we will be checking up with you at 30 days out and then at 2 weeks out to make sure that you're still on track for those revised end dates. If for any reason between now and then you think you need to change your end date, please do so sooner rather than later. It's much easier for us to have that information in advance rather than, you know, feeling like we're trying to track it down at the last minute. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. Just let me know and we'll work with you to figure out what works best.
Great.
This is Michael. I have just a simple question on that one. The end date, is the end date the date that the report is due, or is it the 1 month before the report is due?
Can we show you the answer instead of telling you the answer? Can you go to that reporting page? So if you go to the reporting page, it actually spells it out, or if you go to the closeout document, you can see it. I believe it's here. If not, can you open the closeout document for under year one?
I could have sworn it's in there real quick. Project closeout guidance.
Yeah.
So you'll see there's some resources right here, like including the final report templates down there, but I'll look in there.
Cool.
Okay, so no, I want to make sure. So if my end date is May 31st, then the report is due on June 30th.
So the end date is the date the draft final report is due. And then 30 days after that, the final data sets are due. And then 45 days after that, your final edited report is due.
Okay. I will download the documentation and read it carefully.
I didn't mean that to be snarky, Michael. I just realized that was a good learning opportunity to show you where we could find the information.
You should always feel free to be snarky. I enjoy it.
Okay, any other questions about year one or year two? I see there's a question in the box about budgets for it. We'll make sure to clarify about budgets. That's actually one of the main pieces that we wanted to have this kickoff meeting about. So Steve, I see your question in the box, so we'll make sure we take note of that. Okay, so if no more questions on those two, I wanted, is Becky, are you on the phone and able to be heard by us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, so we had our first rapid response submitted to CSCRS, and it is entitled "Explaining the Rise in Pedestrian Fatalities: A Systems Approach." And the PIs are Laura Sant and Becky Nauman. And we actually just got our third yes for this project. And so Becky was kind enough to offer to give us a quick overview about what this project is aiming to do in a short period of time.
Hey, Carolyn, just before Becky starts, can I just remind everyone a rapid response means off-cycle start. It doesn't mean that it's a fast project. It just means that it can start in an off-cycle period, correct?
Somewhat correct. It is short term, so it needs to be completed within no later than 12 months completed. So it's more of the 7 to 9 month period, but it is out of cycle, but it is short term as well. So it's not an out-of-cycle giant project.
So they should be shorter term projects and off cycle. Thanks. I'm sorry. Every time I hear the word rapid response, my pulse picks up a notch and I start to get a little sweaty. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's rapid response, meaning that it gets reviewed and either approved or not approved quickly. And so it is a quick review, so you get a rapid response, but it is also a project that there's a reason why it is timely and why it qualifies for an out-of-cycle submission and approval. So Becky can give us more, but this actually came out of a meeting that was held kind of ad hoc at TRB, so out of cycle after the year 2 proposal project or process had already started. So that's where this one came in.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a meeting Laura attended and maybe some others on the call. But so DOT had a meeting at TRB in January where they were really talking about this huge increase in pedestrian deaths that we've been seeing. This I think it's about a 30% increase over the last few years. And so they convened experts to elicit, I guess, some feedback on what the US DOT and other government agencies should be doing to curb this trend. And there were some sort of initial hypotheses presented as to what might be driving it. And so sort of building from that and responding to that, what we propose to do as part of this rapid response is essentially some systems thinking and systems mapping around this idea. And so this clearly aligns with the strategic roadmap to sort of develop these systems maps for specific safety areas. And so just very briefly, what we've proposed to do and what we're going to start to do is to gather sort of diverse perspectives on the factors that are contributing to this rise, generating sort of dynamic hypotheses, and then starting at sort of a very initial level to test some of those hypotheses. And so we're proposing to have a workshop actually the end of next month where we anticipate bringing people from law enforcement, public health, planners, trauma, experts in disparities, technology, economics, a whole bunch of other sort of perspectives and disciplines to engage in some systems mapping around this issue. Dr. Hassmiller-Litch here at UNC in health policy, who's an expert in facilitating these workshops and using these methods, is going to be doing that for us. We're then going to do some initial analyses of those mapping exercises and sort of the mental models that we elicit from people, and then begin to quantitatively, begin to build out a simulation model, because these are sort of very complex models. And then the idea is to report back to US DOT and some of the other key stakeholders in this to show sort of what we're beginning to learn, and also really give them a really tangible example of applying some of these systems methods to a transportation problem. So that's the idea. And as was mentioned, it's I think our work plan is about a 6-7 month period, so it's going to all kind of happen very quickly.
Great, thank you. And one thing that is additionally that's nice to note is that doing this actually before the summit that we're going to be hosting in September is going to be helpful to know, what's working, what isn't. Also, already connecting to people who might want to be a participant in that in the actual summit meeting that we're having. And so I think that everything we're doing, or a lot of things we're doing, seem to be working and helping each other and inform us, so the end product is better. So that's nice to see. Any questions for Becky about the rapid response project?
Becky, Asad here. Just a quick comment. A great idea. We've been working on fatal crashes as well, looking at the contributing factors, and I have a paper that I can share with you, which we presented at TRB. It's on fatals, and might help in the hypothesis building part. So we'll be happy to share that.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Asad.
Okay, awesome. So the other part that we wanted to talk about in the meeting was, and Jennifer's adjusting our screen so we can kind of see both at the same time, was just about an opportunity to provide feedback on the research proposal review process. And we put together and we sent out this overview document, which spells out a little bit more clearly, because we realized that it wasn't clear about we have our once a year annual call, and then we have this kind of ad hoc rapid response submission process and how they work together and the differences between the two. So I know we've talked about it before. This is and this isn't by no means the end of the conversation, but since everyone is so recently, or has so recently been involved, we wanted to see what you thought, and to ask you, even if you're not ready to share thoughts now, that you're thinking about it and ready to share, because this is going to be a main thing that we're talking about at the executive committee meeting the first week in April. But is everybody kind of, I guess, clear? And then I know that Laura and Nancy Leffler also had follow-up phone calls with most people. And I know that Krista leading the research selection process this year was very helpful and learned a lot as well. But is there any general feedback that folks want to share beyond what you've already shared with Laura in those individual calls? Is everybody aware of their current status of all the proposals and projects that were submitted from their campuses?
Yeah, this is Eric. I'll throw one question. This goes back to the retreat and then the phone call. There was to be a sub-item that center directors were to have some control over programming.
Hey, Eric, you're breaking up a lot. Eric, can you just adjust for a second and start over? I heard a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm better now?
Yep, better.
Okay. Yeah, we had talked at the retreat and on the call about center-directed led initiatives, but we didn't do that with the proposal, and I wondered if we were going to do that again, or how, if at all, we were going to proceed, or should we wait if we have other research ideas for round two? How we want to proceed with those things.
Okay, so this is so we're not planning on having another call, a new call for year two proposals. If you had a discussion with Laura and it was discussed that how you could change what you've already submitted in a way that better fit with the roadmap, then if you can rework that and resubmit that to us by the end of the month. But we're not issuing a whole nother call. We've realized that timing-wise and resources-wise that we really need to concentrate on getting the next call out faster than doing another, we'll call it 2B call, and then doing a year 3 call. And so if you have any specific questions on that, we can help answer that, Eric. But generally, if you have something and you're not sure from your review of what the next step is, let us know and we can figure that out. But the request is to get us any changes in submissions that you have based on conversations that have been had with Laura and Nancy about the projects to submit those by the end of the month so we can go ahead and finish up the year 2. That's the one part of your question. The other part is the center directed lead proposals. Yes, we talked about it. Where we are now, the one annual call and then the ad hoc rapid response is where we landed for this year, and so we will be talking about that at the executive meeting in April.
Okay, fantastic. And then I want to add too, like if the effort is to speed up the next call for year 3, I think that would be fantastic. It's the extent to which we can link that with the budget cycles, I think would make it, certainly on my end, a lot easier to get things on our administrative side done. So if we could tie those up in some way, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, and I support Eric's, points. I think it will be good to discuss how to make the cycles work better with the budget cycles. I mean, the research project cycle work better with the budget cycle. Thank you.
The other thing I know that's been discussed is a need for the next year or the next process is adding in a step, which unfortunately is going to take more time, but adding in a step to meet with the associate directors from each campus to make sure that they understand all the different projects that have been proposed from their campus. That's one thing that we didn't do this year that we realized we should have done. So it's helpful to know that that's a way that we can improve for the next cycle. So that's one piece that we know that we can already improve. Okay. I'm just looking through. Okay. Any other research project selection process overview questions or thoughts? And again, this isn't the last time. It's obviously not the first time, but we'll discuss this. This will be a big discussion topic during our executive committee meeting. Okay, so the next item is a big one. Number 3 is our reporting priorities. So we're starting to think about things as oncoming trains, and this is the next really big oncoming train that's coming our way is the PPPR2. Sorry. That we need input from you all no later than April 11th. So we were going to ask for it by April 6th, and then we realized since you're all going to be here and we're going to be meeting together, maybe that wasn't the most practical. So we gave you to the Wednesday after. But this is going to be a Herculean effort because it's not the traditional or it's not a small unit of time. It's from June 2017. So you'll remember we encouraged people to put information into the PPPR form at the beginning of the year, which would have been when our PPPR would have normally been due, but because USDOT changed the due date, it's now essentially, it covers 2 reporting periods, but it's just this one, which is June 1st, 2017 to March 31st, 2018. So the link here, so the way that we're gathering that information is through Google Doc. It's the same way that we did it last year, and it seemed to work pretty well. So what we've done is everything that you have told us so far about what you're doing on projects, research-wise, education, professional development-wise, publications, we've put everything that we can find in here that you've given us already. So, if there's anything that is in here that you didn't actually end up doing or something changed, please, if something's in here, just don't assume that it's correct. Please take the time to correct anything that needs to be corrected. But it's generally divided by campus. This Google Doc link is open to anybody. So if you as an associate director want to send it out to other people on your staff, please feel free to do that. However we can get information is great. We are limited to 20 pages for this. And I think that whereas the last time we put it together, we were nervous about having 20 pages of content. This year, that is not going to be this time, this is not going to be the problem. So we will be able to take a little bit more of an approach where we're, trying to highlight some specific things. But for our reporting purposes, we need to make sure that we have everything we can. And again, just as a reminder how everything you're telling us we're trying to use as much as we can. This is the same stuff that you've put into the Education Professional Development Google Doc. This is from the conversations that you had telling us about what you've been doing. But if you can get this to us by March, what is it, 13th, 11th? April 11th, which I realize our date on the top is wrong. We will change that currently. But any questions about what should be included in the PPPR, or how to put information into this Google Doc, or just generally any questions?
One thing I was going to mention is that if you do have any kind of citation for a publication or presentation or whatever, we're using the APA style. So it would be helpful if you could put any kind of citations in using this style.
Good point. So any questions or anything we can do? We realize that this is a big ask for you. So is there anything we can do to help make this an easier thing for you to accomplish? Having heard none, we will take that to mean is yes, you're okay with understanding it's the 11th. Oh, we see a question from Krista. I think it was about publications. Is it only CSCRS? If you have a question about does it relate or does it not, if it's something that we could potentially use for cost match, just go ahead and include it. If there's any relation to CSCRS, if you've received funding or it could...
Carolyn, you're going in and out.
Okay, I'll stand up. If there's any connection to CSCRS, please include it, whether it's directly funded through one of the research projects or education professional development activities, or if you think it would be a part of one of your projects that you're using for cost match, please include it. Any other questions over the phone or in the chat box?
I just want to say, Asad here, you've done a good job of collecting information through Google Doc, and I like that, and we're happy to provide that information. It makes it easier.
Great.
So just a positive.
This is Jennifer. There's other reporting requirements, as you'll see next in the agenda is the SF 425. And you'll notice this at the end of the agenda too. Because USDOT kind of switched up the schedule, the next PPPR is actually not due 6 months later. It's due, it'll be due later this fall. So there will be another PPPR coming up pretty soon after this one. The good thing is it'll cover less time, so hopefully it will be easier to pull together.
So you only have to be Hercules once, is
Yes.
what you're saying.
Jennifer and Carolyn, you're breaking up. We can only hear about every third or fourth word.
Okay, we're as close to the speaker as we can be. I'm not sure. We'll try not to make any other sounds in the room. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can. I didn't catch, maybe it's just my phone, but I didn't catch what Jennifer just said.
Okay, a couple people said they can hear fine, so it might be your phone. Jennifer just said,
okay.
Yeah, no, Jennifer just said that the next PPPR is due in October. So just a reminder that the next one is not as big of a period of time as the one that we need feedback by April 11th.
Okay, it must just be my phone.
That's okay. That's better for us than for you. Okay, next item is just a reminder that to the next freight train coming down the tracks is SF 425, which we'll need that by April 20th. And I know that Nancy will send a reminder to everybody, but just to let you know what's coming your way. Any requests about reporting or needs for you or from us? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the executive committee retreat, which we've already talked about several times. So I hope everybody is excited about coming to Chapel Hill again, April 5th and 6th, Thursday and Friday. There's a couple items that we already have for our key agenda items that you can see spelled out right here, talking about what we're all doing individually, having a bigger safe systems discussion, talking about the actual summit meeting in September, getting feedback from you and figuring out what else you need, what else you think PIs need, talking about the processes, including the research process, strategic roadmap. So if you have any other ideas of things that should be included, and I know I got yours offer, I put that as the consortium member report out. But if you have any ideas, if you want to speak now, or if you want to put your idea into the chat box, or tell us anytime before then, that would be great. This is actually, we realize this is the last time, well, we speak again for the research call, but this is the last admin call before we meet in person. And as a reminder, booking travel is on you. Stay tuned for the Wednesday night casual get together. We are hoping to be able to plan a couple of events that'll be nice, which I don't know if Michael's gotten a chance to get back to you, Jennifer, but we're going to try to see if Michael can set up a tour with us at Duke's lab, just because I realized that not everybody had that opportunity. So Michael, thanks in advance if you can try to figure out how to do that on Friday.
Yeah, I've already been talking to Missy about it, and we can do it. And she has time to talk. We just need to work on how much time everybody wants to spend here.
Okay, awesome. Well, and that's the thing, is we got to figure out how much content. I know that we could all talk for days about all kinds of things, but we'll try to boil it down and make it the most effective meeting for everybody. And it'll be nice too, because that's another thing that Michael's working on as being an activity at the SAFE Summit in September, but you all probably won't be able to go and attend because we don't want you to leave the meeting to go, and so you can consider this your preview. And then the other thing too is that we're thinking that it would be nice to actually host our dinner on, I mean, it's no host, but have our dinner on Thursday night actually in downtown Durham, so you can see where the summit is going to be hosted and get an idea of the environment where we're going to be. Maybe check out a hotel if you want, or also just eat a good meal.
And we will be considering vegetarian options. This is Jennifer. If you think about it, if you could drop me a note letting me know what your travel plans are, the timing of your flights, that would be helpful too for planning. And I can follow up on that, but just if you're thinking about it now, just please let me know your travel plans.
Any ideas about other things that should be included on this agenda, or questions about the meeting in general? The other piece we have to figure out is if there's a way. I know last year everybody was here and there was no student involvement with UNC students, and we're not sure how to do that yet. Unfortunately, this didn't fall on one of the coffee and conversation dates, but we might be able to create something to make that opportunity possible. Okay, so moving on to the Safe Systems Summit. Wes Coomfer is here. He's helping organize our meeting on our end on the content side. But so I don't think we've actually told you all yet because we're so busy working on trying to formalize and finalize our save the date. But September 13th and 14th, it's a Thursday and Friday, is the day of the Safe Systems Summit in Chapel Hill. Or sorry, it's not in Chapel Hill. That's the wrong heading. It's in Durham at the Durham Convention Center. And it's a mix, it's 2 days. It's a mix of general sessions and concurrent breakouts, workshops, activities. We're in the middle of trying to figure out what that might be. Wednesday, as an add-on, we are going to try to figure out how to work in the CSCRS advisory board meeting. So we're not asking our advisory board to come here in the spring because we want them to be a part of the event in the fall. So we're going to try to figure out how to both meet with them and have them involved in the programming and potentially as mentors for young researchers at the summit. And then Friday afternoon, just so you know, is probably going to be more North Carolina focused content. We are getting GHSP funding as a part of this project. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on in North Carolina already. So there will likely be a North Carolina focused content kind of section. It seems maybe to do that. Not that it won't be a part of the whole program. Without me going through, do you want to say more about do you want me to continue reading you want me to? Okay. So I think that we had our first planning call on this past week, actually, where we had our systems thinking. We had Tab from DCRP. We had our public health perspective. So we're really trying to figure out how to make this a unique opportunity to create a learning environment for safe systems and not just make this a typical transportation conference and meeting. So we also know that we need to share our research that we're doing here and also allow other UTCs to share what they're doing and involve students. So we're putting a lot of thought into that. So if you want to go ahead and start thinking about yourself, your project PIs, what students you can encourage to come and be a part of it.
And a note on the student involvement. So yes, we want students who are currently doing research and have projects to present, things that are along the pipe. Yes, invite them, have them come, bring a poster with them. We also want to encourage you to invite students who are just now getting into research and don't necessarily know where they're going. One of the things we're going to do is kind of an atypical poster session where students who are just at the beginning of their scholarship will present a research idea on a poster board or something, maybe with some pictures, different questions related to their hypothesis. And then they're ideally going to be getting feedback from different stakeholders within the SAFE system itself. So they could maybe get some feedback from, a planner who's in attendance, or an engineer, a public health official. So the idea is to help kind of shape and guide these new scholars in how it is that they approach research. And we think it could be very beneficial for them. So if you have some, say, brand new master's students or even brand new PhD students who would be likely candidates, keep them on your radar.
And we understand that funding wise, that will be a lot easier for people locally than it will be, offer in California and in Eric in Florida. But we're hoping to involve students from UTCs that are across the state of North Carolina, as well as across the different disciplines here at UNC and at Duke. So I guess get your mind thinking as different ideas. And this is, again, going to be a big thing that we talk about in our meeting here the first week in April. I'm trying to think what else to share. We have a lot going on with it. The other thing, if you just want to open up the Google Doc. So we gave a link to the Google Doc, the planning Google Doc, just to show you kind of the direction we're going and some of the speakers that we are already considering. And we're going to send an actual request out to you for ideas for speakers. But if you want to take a look to see where it's going, and I think that we have most everybody involved who wants to be involved in this smaller planning call. But if you would like to be a part of bi-weekly planning call Monday afternoons, we're happy to include you. But we're seeing that more as, okay, we're going to figure out which direction to go and then report back to the associate directors and get feedback through this call. But if you go to this event, one, I'll pause for any questions about the summit generally that we can answer.
So this is Steve Marshall. So in the agenda item 1 was education/professional development activities. So these are year 2 non-research activities. And so if we have people who we think should attend the summit at the Durham Convention Center who are not part of our group, they're people, scattered around the country who are in leadership positions, who we think need to get a systems perspective on transportation safety. Can we budget money for them to come? So it's not us, it's not our workforce development, it's developing other people. Can we budget money for them to come to this?
It's a great question. It's a great question, Steve, and it's something that we.
Well, that's why I thought I'd ask it.
Well, and so it's something that we're going to have to deal with on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, we just figured out from Robin Klein is to cover people's travel, even our advisory board members, we're going to have to get a request and get it approved case by case. So yes, it is certainly possible. As far as which bucket of funds it comes from, that's something we'd have to decide. But I think that's a great discussion topic for the executive committee meeting in April. It's a great idea. It's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's like an opportunity to not just spread the concept into the injury prevention community, but also to spread the brand of CSCRS as kind of like an innovator into a broader group of people. You know, I just think there's merit in that, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the event is only going to be successful if we get the right people in the room. And so I think that's a great idea. And if you can go back to the document, Jennifer, just to show, we're also building a list of who we should be inviting. So if you go down the page, you can see that we have potential speakers that are already laid out, which we're going to send an actual request for you. But also, if you keep going down, there's a list of potential invitation list or target participants. So even if you want to just put someone's name here or organizational name as just a holding place, so we can remember to reach out to them if it's not through a speaker or if it's not as a targeted scholarship or something that we try to figure out how to get the right people there. We want to make sure that we're promoting it to the right people as well. So that's another way that you can help us. But we've written it down, Steve, and we'll add that to our agenda and thinking.
Yeah, the invite list is great. This is helpful. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very useful.
There is one other summit-related, or at least one other summit-related activity, and this is where the second interactive poll of the day comes in. I'm going to send you a link via chat. Please fill it out. We're trying to get nailed down the actual name of the summit, and we would like to know your thoughts. So please fill out that poll too, and let us know what you think.
And if you can just pull it up too, and we can talk about it.
I was going to say too, Eric, we absorbed your content that you had given to us regarding this, so we definitely pulled your stuff into it as well.
I have a question that didn't occur to me about the summit, but is there a registration fee?
There's not a registration fee. It's going to be free.
Oops. So sorry, that's important. There's no registration fee?
There's no registration fee.
Okay. But people have to pay for their own travel and accommodation.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, that's good to know. I apologize for being so out of the loop.
No, it's okay. They're good questions. And you know, a conference being free is good, but it's also bad because someone's not as committed to it. And if something comes up, they just decide they're not going to come. Or if they register and then they don't actually book.
Yeah. Are you sure? Because we never do freebies. Like we do a nominal registration. It'll be $25 or something like that. And then we have some sort of, usually a bunch of people end up getting registered for free because or Jennifer will say, well, I can't be bothered charging Steve Marshall $25. I'm just going to register him. But it does have a way of securing a commitment from people.
Mm-hmm.
And it also covers like snacks and coffee and things because people have an expectation, even if it's free, people expect coffee. This is America, and people show up in the morning, they're like, where's the coffee?
Mm-hmm.
And the way they say it, it makes me feel I really need to give them coffee right then. Anyway, so I know I'm a big proponent of nominal registration amounts, even if it's, averaging less than $10 a day. I still think it secures a commitment and helps you with getting a more accurate head count.
Yeah, that's actually a big learning we had from one of our first summits where we had like 700 registrations and 200 actually come because it was free. And it was all North Carolina local, but we had all this food that we paid for, and yeah. So, but then after we did the $25, we had more like 90% people show up.
It's the perfect
free downside to registering, so people over-register.
Well, and this is the perfect time to have that conversation. So that's what we were thinking, because we have the budget, but we're also learning that, for example, one of our big invites that we want to put out is Rod McClure, and we can't use, right, so we have to figure out how to cover international travel costs, and that would be a way that we could do it. So yes, everything we're saying is up for feedback, and please give it to us.
Yeah, and has Rod said yes?
We have not gotten a response. We have figured out we want to ask him yesterday.
Yes.
We were. Sorry, go ahead, Wes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say we were waiting on actually having a name before we invited him.
So please fill out that survey. It's all on you now.
Well, so here's a little bit of background is we're trying to figure out clearly, we have to have a name for it. And so, we want the safe systems nomenclature to be known and understood, but it seems that we need to have transportation a part of it too, because from public health, Safe Systems Summit can mean a whole host of things. And so, do we need to use a word that like innovation that is more catchy and quote unquote modern? So we are throwing out these examples, but we are open to others, but it's something we have to decide very soon, like maybe in the next day or two. So
Oh, these examples.
you don't like any
Yeah.
examples?
Well, there's a space.
No, sorry. Now I see what I'm looking at. Is this? These are your examples? Yeah. Okay. Well, I like Safe Systems Summit. What's wrong with that? I thought it had a name. Sorry.
Well, so we were just operating under the name that we called it in the proposal, I guess, originally, or I'm not sure where it came from, but we have not actually named it.
What if we had
Well, what?
CSCRS, Safe Systems Summit, then the CSCRS has to some extent the transportation, or at least the road part.
If you do
Yeah.
have that idea, please go ahead and type it in so we can keep a record of those. But that's
What? Can you repeat that offer?
Adding CSCRS to the first one, so CSCRS Safe Systems Summit, it then kind of helps with the brand, and CSCRS captures the fact that it's about transportation.
So
That's a great idea. Yeah, I like Offa's idea.
So if you do CSCRS, then does that discourage other UTCs from attending? So we're hoping very much that UTCs from North Carolina are going to attend. We want to try to get safety UTCs from across the country and other safety UTC or other UTCs if we can. So does being affiliated with CSCRS add or subtract to the interest? Question mark.
I don't know.
And then the other thought is, it just escaped me. When we were talking with Robin, the UTC Spotlight Conference is no longer. So this is something that if you're familiar with the UTC program, it was organized and supported by USDOT and TRB. And it can't be funded anymore. It's not being funded. So we thought we were very smart in asking Robin, well, can we just double bill this as the Spotlight Conference? And she said, sure. But it doesn't mean anything, and you can't get any involvement from TRB, so, whatever you want to do. So that doesn't, at first we were thinking, should we make somehow a UTC Spotlight Conference a part of a tag or something? So I think we might work that into the save the date language, just so people who are familiar with that, it will maybe grab their interest, but those are just...
There would be sort of the conference formerly known as ...
Yeah.
Well, I like Offa's suggestion. I think it's great, and I don't think it's discouraging to have CSCRS in the title. I think, though, somehow it should be prominently branded, with Collaborative Studies Center for Roadway Safety. So if it's not in the title, it should be like as prominent as possible in the materials.
Right.
Well, having attended the Spotlight conferences, many of them, I would say that we are better off, kind of affiliating ourselves with those conferences, and because it gets diverse audience, and we will probably get a very nice audience by through that Spotlight, having a Spotlight conference kind of a theme. And I think putting in CSCRS might be maybe makes it a bit too focused on and not enough on focused on us and not on other UTCs as was mentioned before. So I would say, I have mixed feelings about it in terms of, attracting the right people. Spotlight Conference is quite has been quite successful in the past in attracting people around the country from all UTCs. So just my kind of, I'm rambling, but it's it's just a thought that maybe having CSCRS in the title itself might not attract as many people as a general UTC conference.
So it's the Spotlight Summit on Safe Systems then?
Yeah, that's something like that.
Oh. Caroline, did you mention a mechanism for them to give us content ideas if they look at that list and see things that maybe we're not seeing? How will they relay those ideas to us?
In the Google Doc?
In the Google Doc.
So before we put a final or a formal request, anybody is welcome to put their comments into the Google Doc.
Okay.
If you just want to highlight it and just put your name or put your name in parentheses, just somehow, so if we need to follow up, we'll know who put it in there. But
yeah, that'd be helpful.
We sent it out knowing that you might be curious and might want to look at it. And I think we don't have representation from all consortium members on the call. So offer Eric or Assad if you want someone from your campus to be involved in the planning. And it's not on the logistical side. It's really we're developing the content and thinking through the logistics and different opportunities and things. Just let us know and we can invite them to join the meeting.
Sure. Thank you.
If you are serious about trying to get Rod to come, I think that's great, but it's sort of hard to fly halfway around the world for an afternoon or two. So he'd probably want to go on, I would imagine, to Atlanta. And he has colleagues in the New England area that he works with. So he would probably, as is reasonable, I think, you might want to, when you extend the offer, make it clear that you'd work with him so that he could go to several destinations in North America as part of the trip from a cost-sharing standpoint. Not that you should have to pay for those ancillary trips, but he's still working with CDC, for example, in a kind of consulting type way. Okay. So he might reasonably want to go down to Atlanta for a day or two. And I don't think we should bear the cost of that, but I think we should be willing to accommodate it in some sort of cost-sharing way. So I don't know how to phrase that, but if you can just make it clear that'll make it a lot more appealing to him if he can daisy chain a couple of other North American stops onto it, I suspect. And I think that's reasonable. Like when I go to that corner of the world, I try to do a couple of things too.
Okay, any other thoughts on name or the summit in general? I know we have 3 minutes left. We can jump back to the agenda just to see what else we had. And thank you all for your feedback and thoughts during the whole meeting. So the other business items, reminders, are really just more placeholders to let you know what's coming. Another plug for the reporting webpage, and then the calendar for the upcoming events. Reminder that if you have a PI on your campus, to please ask them to be sure to join the kickoff meeting on Tuesday from 3 to 4. And of course, you're all welcome if you want to see what we're talking about. Spoiler alert, it's much the same thing. And then the other thing is just we look forward to seeing you in April. If you have any questions or need any additional help planning your arrival or plans, just let us know. And then the other big piece is the PPPR #2. We'll send a lot of reminders, but thank you in advance for helping us meet the April 11th deadline because we have to do a really quick turnaround and get that in to US DOT by the end of April. Any other thoughts, comments, feedback?
I could certainly canvass a couple of UNC students and see if they'd be interested in doing really short, kind of like what's the word, kind of like 5-minute presentations when people are here in April, just to kind of get a flavor of some of the diversity of different things that are on campus. Or maybe we should pick some of the people that we're funding on campus as scholars and just see if they would be willing to do kind of like just some, very, very short. I'm not saying 20 minutes. I mean literally 3 to 5 minutes, just a few orientation talks, and not all 200 of them or however many there are, but just 1 or 2. Just a thought for April. I don't think there's 200, but they're also smart. It's intimidating.
I think it's a good idea. It can be fun having a session like that, particularly in the afternoon when everybody's just, getting a little tired. Have a session where people give really quick elevator talks. You have 2 or 3 minutes. You have a stopwatch. That's all the time you got. And TRB, it's very popular to nowadays to have hybrid sessions where you combine that with a poster. So if you have a student session, they can briefly share their idea, talk about it, just introduce it, and then after everybody presents, then you have posters in the back of the room where you can go and chat, mingle, and talk more.
You could probably get Katie Lang or some of the other Rhodes Scholars to talk about coffee and conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Allison West just did a poster when she went to that one conference.
Yeah, I think our problem is going to be limiting ourselves to 2 days, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Thanks for good meeting. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Adios. Woody, it's nice to have you, because you get to have the zingers from